Hello and a very warm welcome to Eye on the Money, the television show that gives you insights into how to improve your financial well-being as well as make your money work for you. I'm Ingrid Nantege. On today's show, we discuss how to effectively manage your finances during the festive season. Now, do you think you can't get through the holidays without spending a fortune? It can be easy to go overboard on holiday shopping, but with a little bit of planning and budgeting, it's possible to celebrate without spending all of your cash or maxing out your fuliza, nor having to resort to taking out mobile loans or any type of debt for that matter. Joining me on the show today to give you practical tips on how to make it through the festive season without breaking that bank is James Mbui, the CEO of Amica Sacco. You're welcome to the show, James.
Thank you, Ingrid.
Thank you very much for making time to come and talk to us about spending and the festive season.
Thank you.
So now, James, usually when it comes to the festive season, there are even jokes that are tied to this season. You'll hear things like, oh, you need to be careful, January is coming, or you need to be careful, don't spend all of your money now. Most employers will pay you your money ahead of time. We all know the sort of burden people encounter in this festive season. But just to set the stage and get the ball rolling, what are your thoughts on money and spending in tandem with the festive season?
Thank you very much, Ingrid, for that question. One thing about the festive season is that the way we have been socialized, the way we grew up knowing that Christmas season is a time of merrymaking, is a time of eating the kind of foods you don't ordinarily eat, is a kind of drinking, even drinks that you have not taken. Some of us who are brought up in the rural areas, that's the only day probably you took a soda.
That's so true.
Yes, that's the only day you took a soda. And that is the day you eat chapatis those days. And that's the days you ate that kind of food that is not common. And you put up new clothes. You go and visit your aunties, your uncles, and your relatives, and so on and so forth. And therefore, it's a season where people feel they want to be free, they want to be happy, they want all that. And definitely that comes with spending. It comes with responsibility. If you are the breadwinner of the family, definitely you feel that you are under pressure, and especially if you do not have money. And going by the season that we find ourselves in, the pressure and the stress might even be much more because there has not been a lot of money. Actually, this morning as I was leaving my house, my wife asked me about going to pay a certain bill, and I told her, okay, yeah, you must pay. You don't have any alternative. You have to go and pay. But the year has been bad. And the year has been bad generally for most of us. A few of us probably have benefited, those who took advantage of the situation, and probably those who have been supplying the items that are demanded as a result of the COVID-19, the masks, the oxygen, the medical materials and equipment and so on. Could be those ones have benefited. But all I'm trying to say, yes, that this is a season where people will have to spend. But unfortunately, majority of us, especially Africans, we do not plan for it. It's like all of a sudden we discover that it is Christmas. And sometimes you realize that even a week too, like I think Christmas is now coming in the next a week or so.
Yes.
Eh?
Yes.
And you don't have any money. So what happens? You revert to borrowing. You revert to using your credit card. You revert to doing things that you should actually not be doing. And therefore, that is what we actually need to discuss. What is it that you need to do? And what you need to do it well in advance. Not just even this time when we have COVID. There will even be years that there is not going to be COVID. And there have even been many other Christmas without COVID. But people have still made mistakes. And those are the mistakes that people need to avoid, and that's what we need to be discussing.
Mr. Mbui, you mentioned two very important points, which personally I also related to, and I'm so sure a lot of our audience members would agree with. We are socialized that way. I mean, every year from when you're a child, you're used to your parent bringing you that new cloth. You're used to that's the time you're going to eat so much meat. You're used to that's the time you're really going to merrymack.
Yeah, true.
But at the same time, this has been a difficult year for a lot of people. So 1 week away to Christmas, is it too late for someone to have, you know, something that's worth its name? Because Christmas, no matter how we put it, Mr. Mbui, it's a festive season where people really get together with family to merrymack. So how can this be achieved in the shortest time possible without really losing everything you have, even after you've lost so much in the year?
You know, when you see people walking in the streets, they are all dressed up. They are all covering their bodies,
Right.
and they are looking smart. But there is somebody who probably would be putting up 30,000 worth, and another person putting up 5,000 worth, and both of them look smart and they are okay, they're whatever. You can have a Christmas and make merry and be happy together with your family without necessarily spending a lot of money.
Tell us how.
The how is, you have, you know, there are days when you had 20,000 shillings and you spent 20,000 shillings and you bought crates of drinks and whatever, and you went even for the high end and everything. You had to go and buy a goat and buy chicken and buy turkey and buy whatever. But now we find ourselves in a situation where we don't have a lot of money. So if you have 5,000 shillings, you still can feed your family and moderate. Just what I call about being moderate. Be moderate, do what you must do. With whatever amount of money that you have, it can still be enough. Now, if you have always traveled, can you avoid traveling? Because traveling, you need to spend a lot of money. You have to fuel your car. You have to go look for a place to sleep. You have to, a lot of other things. So with the little money that you have, look for a way of spending that little money. Last week I was in a conference somewhere, and somebody shared to us about the Kadogo economy and how he lived, I think, in Madare 4A. And with 100 shillings, he could eat a meal and save the same 100 shillings. Because iko boga ya 5 bob, iko mafuta ya kupika siku hiyo, iko. In other words, if you really want to achieve whatever you want to achieve with whatever you have, you will achieve it. It all depends on your mind. Because if you believe Christmas is spending hundreds of thousands, then that's what it is. But if you believe Christmas is taking time with your family, being happy, sharing, eating whatever is available. And again, the other very important thing is, can you communicate to your family members so that they know and they understand? It is not that our children do not understand that we are in difficult times.
Right.
These are the children who have been at home throughout the year and they have always been in school. So they know there is COVID. They know there are difficulties. And by now, we are 10 months into COVID or more, and they have been seeing some of the difficulties. Explain yourselves. Let's explain ourselves to our children, to our families, to the significant others. If you are not able to, for example, travel up country, let your parents know. Let them understand. Send them 1,000 or 2. Tell them to buy a jogo from the village and whatever, because you are not able to travel and so on and so forth. All that we are saying is, try to be moderate, try to be realistic with what you have.
Thank you very much. And that also, what I'm picking from this is you're talking about the issue of mindset and behavior change. Because like if this is what you're used to, it doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't have to.
Adjust your circumstances.
Yeah, true.
However, even as we talk about that, and you mentioned a very important aspect at the top of this conversation where you said it's very important to have a plan. I'd like us to dwell a bit more on this. When we talk about this plan for Christmas, first of all, how does one come up with a viable plan? Immediately this Christmas ends in January. Should I right away go to the drawing board and start planning for the next Christmas? Just take us through the whole planning for the season ahead. All
right. The best way to plan is to decide first and foremost. For my Christmas, I spared 100,000. Now, 100,000, how do I earn my money? I am salaried. So with 100,000, if I was to put in something like 8,000 per month, times 12, that is 96,000. That's just about 100,000 or 12,000 or whatever amount, or 10,000 shillings. You keep it aside. By the end of the year, you are going to be having 120,000. Now, we have institutions like ourselves. We have an account called Future Savings Account, which is a real savings account where you can be checked off a deduction and is credited to an account that you don't access. But of course, you have to have the discipline of not accessing that money, because again, if you access it, it means by the end of the period, you will not have achieved your objective of the amount of money you needed to have saved. So that is one way, the planning. So that first of all, you decide how much money do I need. So if I am on a salary, it means I can't be able to commit a certain amount of money. Come that time, I will have the 120,000 I need to have saved. And you continue, because every 12 months there is going to be a Christmas. Every 12 months there is going to be a Christmas. So discipline yourself and forget that money, that it does not exist, because end of that season you will find that money. That is one way of planning. And that planning also, I think I need to mention, Ingrid, is the same even for things that are not for Christmas,
right.
Even for something like school fees. You know, every 4 months you pay school fees for your children. Why don't you just decide, I pay school fees 20,000 shillings. If I save 5,000, every 4 months I have 20,000, every 4 months I have 20,000. So on a timely basis, I have enough money. And forget about that money, keep it aside, go into an account, and you find your life very easy. So planning, not just for Christmas, is also planning for everything else, including money to pay insurance for your car. That bill is fond of coming when you don't have money. And there are times when you find yourself wanting to revert into third-party insurance, because now where do I get, say, 20,000-30,000 to pay for this comprehensive insurance? I had a case of a colleague of mine who decided and really engaged our insurance manager that no, this thing is too expensive. No, can you downgrade the value of this vehicle? The following week, that vehicle was stolen.
What?
Yes, the following week the vehicle was stolen. But thank God, he found it. So those guys, I think, went and got stuck somewhere, right. And so he found it. So what I'm saying is that if you don't plan and plan well, why was he doing that? Because the premium invoice has come, right. And he doesn't have the cash. So what do? You start making some decisions that are very expensive, because if you've never got a vehicle, he would not have been received the value, claimed the full value of the vehicle, because he had downgraded the value of the vehicle. So I'm saying, when it comes to planning, is planning around your entire life, not just for festive season, but especially for things that you know are recurrent in nature. It's good to plan and save. So savings accounts come in handy, planning for short-term financial commitments. Yeah.
So now, still in line with planning,
yeah,
I want to bring about the aspect of budgeting,
yes.
Because I feel that also somehow falls in the same category.
Yeah.
I've listened to your advice. Every month I put away some money. In fact, I could have even put away a lot more than you've even advised. So it gets to the Christmas period, I have a lot more than I need. We all know how the Christmas period comes with a lot of promotions from different vendors. How advisable is it then? I mean, I've been disciplined throughout the entire year. I put away more than I require. I'm seeing all these amazing promos. I want to give my family the best Christmas. Am I allowed to deviate a bit away from my budget? Because I've also overachieved in terms of what I'm meant to achieve. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's a very, very, very good question. Planning also comes with budgeting. Of course, a budget is a plan by itself. But now, say this is Christmas period, I have 120,000 I have been able to keep aside. You now must sit and ask yourselves, what kind of a Christmas do we want this year? Now, we have found ourselves we are in a season of COVID. There is a crisis around. And although I have 120,000, I may not need to spend this whole 120,000 because I don't have money. I don't have, I have some shortfalls in some other places. I have shortfall in school fees. I have shortfall in this other area. So this is a time that you tell yourself, okay, rather than spending 120,000, I can spend 80,000. So this 80,000, how do I want to spend it? I will buy new clothing for my children. I will I will not travel up country. I will send some 10K so that I can take care of my parents at home and my other relatives. I can decide to go for a holiday for a night or two, not too far. And so on, so that then you are sure that the amount of money that you have, you are spending it wisely. Because don't just spend because the money is available. Again, avoid impulse buying. That you have said that there's going to be a lot of
promotions, offers.
Even as you go along the streets, you're hearing there is offers for new shoes, offers for new what, offers for new that, new phones and new whatever, and you still have, your phone does not have a problem, you feel like you want to buy. Impulse buying, by the way, that is one of the things that make people spend unnecessarily during Christmas. You even find yourself buying things that you don't like, and you might never even wear it throughout the year, but because you bought, because it was, you know, you are being persuaded to just buy. So that is, those are some of the things that we really need to avoid. Be objective. Follow and that was I'm saying. Be objective. In other words, don't just do things because it is time to spend, but do things that you know tomorrow you are not going to regret. Because you see, today you eat and drink. By the end of the day, you still want to drink again. Tomorrow, you still want to drink again and eat and so on. And life has to continue. Because this is usually a very short season, many a times a day or two. Then reality hits again. So don't have to waste money. Use money wisely, because remember, money is the most scarce resource in the world. It is never enough.
That's all true.
Yeah, never enough.
We'll take a very quick break, but don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we have so much more on how to effectively manage your money during the festive season. And we all know we've fallen prey to just being always so broke after the festive season, year in, year out. When we come back, I'll still have with me James Mbui, CEO Amica Sacco, to just take us through what practical tips you need to put in place this festive season. Don't go anywhere. And you can still be a part of the conversation by sending your feedback to our social media pages at Metropol TV KE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll be right back.